Good morning, friends. I'm here with my coffee. I'm hoping to get a couple hours of freezer meal prep done this morning, and I'm going to take you along with me. We're going to start off by putting together something that I've actually wanted to experiment with more, and that is an egg bite sort of thing, but it has hash browns in it. So we are going to do this. I found a great recipe that has some step-by-step instructions. It does have a couple of steps, which makes prepping it ahead of time so helpful. Plus, stuff like this reheats in the air fryer, the oven, the microwave if you want to, super easily. So the first step we are going to do is I am multiplying this recipe by 4. So we've got some bulk making that we're doing, bulk baking if you want to call it that. So the first step we're going to do is I have my butter melter pot here. And the reason these are so helpful, if you prefer to melt your butter on the stovetop versus the microwave, I don't use my microwave a whole lot, so I like things that I can do on the stovetop, is it's got a heavier bottom, so it prevents the butter from burning or scorching. So I have 2 sticks, because every recipe calls for 4 tablespoons and we're multiplying it by 4. So I'm just going to cut this into manageable pieces and put it in to my butter melting pot and pop it on the stove. I have my big bag of hash browns here. This is 4 pounds of hash browns. I could make these myself, but today is a day where I'm trying to get it all done. And I probably, if this is successful, the next time around will make the hash browns myself, just because these have additives that I don't necessarily care for. So these are thawed most of the way, and that was something that the person that made the recipe suggested to do, is have everything mostly thawed. So I'm going to dump that into a big bowl here, and we're gonna get our salt and pepper. Okay, now this part of the recipe, I really think you could add in other seasonings. If you wanted to put garlic powder, you could even chop onion and add that into this as well. But because I'm testing this out, I'm just gonna stick with the basics. So we've got salt and pepper going into this, 4 teaspoons of salt. And it would be 4 teaspoons of pepper, but I feel like that's a little bit of a lot for our family. I don't wanna make things too peppery with having children. So I'm only doing half of the amount of pepper that she suggested. The next step is going to be putting the butter in here, but it's gonna get really sticky once the butter's in here. So I decided to stir the salt in first so it gets spread out a bit better before we pour the butter on top and stir that all together. Our butter is nicely melted, and I think I'm gonna pour half of it in here and then pour the other half once I've mixed a bit, just to make sure it's spread evenly. The reason I'm kind of being cautious about this is it is a little bit frozen yet. I didn't wait until it was fully thawed. So when that butter hits the frozen hash browns, it's going to kind of seize up or freeze up again. And so that's why I'm just trying to pour it throughout a little more evenly. And my oven is also preheating as well while I'm doing this step. Okay, for this part, we are going to take our hash brown mixture. Now these, I did grease the muffin tins, and the instructions say to fill them about 3/4 of the way full. Obviously, you're just gonna have to eyeball it and go from there. Remember that our egg mixture, which is going to be poured on top of this, is going to settle down in to the hash browns, and we do bake the hash browns a bit first, and so they're going to probably deflate a bit as well. I feel like you could be incredibly flexible with this recipe. I mean, you could try other root vegetables in the bottom of these. I'm thinking even shredded sweet potato could possibly be done in these. That would be something to experiment with for sure, just for a healthier alternative. And if you are looking for a low carb alternative, you could try shredding up some radishes to do this with. There's a few low carb root vegetables that you could definitely take the place of these hash browns with. As many of you know, in the last couple of years, I have been on a bit of a journey with swapping things out of my home that contain unnecessary chemicals. Finding great products to make those swaps has been my mission as of late. And whenever I started looking around my home, I realized that my laundry detergent was the worst offender. Did you know that traditional laundry detergent can leave a residue on your clothing? And I've had family members in my home actually react negatively to that residue. Unfortunately, most popular laundry detergents are packed with harsh chemicals that can irritate your skin, mess up your hormones, and cause allergic reactions. Some of these chemicals, like optical brighteners, actually stick to your clothes like glue. They just trick your eyes into thinking that your laundry looks whiter and brighter than it really is. And the worst part is, these chemicals don't even clean your clothes. This is all stuff I don't want around my home and around my family, so I've switched to EarthBreeze. And I'm excited to tell you that EarthBreeze is sponsoring today's video. Their detergent sheets are free from harsh chemicals like optical brighteners, dyes, parabens, phosphates, and preservatives. So no heavy plastic jugs, no mess, and no harsh chemical residue. Just a lightweight, pre-measured sheet that dissolves in the wash to clean your clothes. And yes, your clothes still come out soft and fresh and clean. I feel so much better knowing that I am not exposing my family and my household to those unnecessary toxins. It's easy to switch, and if you're not completely satisfied, they have a great money-back guarantee. Right now, you can try EarthBreeze at 40% off plus 4 free gifts at earthbreeze.com/Adaline. All right, this is about half of my hash browns, so we're gonna have to do this again because I don't have more muffin tins, but we're gonna pop these into the oven and bake them up. All right, while the hash brown portion is baking, we're gonna work on what we're gonna put on top of that hash brown. This is why I'm saying these are great to prep, because it's something that would be kind of not very fun to have to do multiple mornings in a row. So having a whole bunch of them in the freezer that you can pop into the air fryer is so helpful. So I have 2 pounds of ground sausage that we get locally done here. And this is gonna be our other protein beside the egg in these egg bite, or little, they kind of remind me of a miniature breakfast casserole, because a lot of times you put hash browns in breakfast casseroles, but you know me, I love things that are portioned out to where we can just take out whatever we need for that morning. It also makes it nice for variety's sake. You know, if somebody would rather have oatmeal that morning than the eggs, we can just kind of grab what we want. Things are already starting to smell really good around here. So I have a 2-pound block of cheddar cheese. Because I shred my own cheese, I usually do a lot of guesstimating when it comes to how many cups you need. And if I end up with too much, I just put it into the refrigerator and we use it on top of something else. So even if I over shred, that's perfectly fine. And yes, I do have a food processor, but sometimes it's just easier to use this and wash this up versus using the food processor. This guy goes in my dishwasher and takes up less space and all of that. So sometimes I don't mind, and since I'm waiting on the sausage to fry, I have the time to hand shred. Again, you could go absolutely crazy with fillings and toppings on this. There's no veggies in the recipe, so besides the potatoes. So you could add in broccoli, you could add in peppers and onions. There's just, the possibilities are endless. You could do like a ham and cheese combination, obviously bacon, or even you could put beef in it if you wanted to, just whatever you have on hand. Again, I'm always encouraging you all to use what you have on hand or use what is accessible to you. I hate making you feel like you got to go out and buy special ingredients. So I hope that you take that from my videos, that you can definitely change things up and use what you have. Okay, I've got the cheese all shredded and our hash browns are about to come out of the oven, but I'm gonna go ahead and crack all of these eggs in here, and I'm going to use my immersion blender just to blend them together. I don't have a hand mixer, or I maybe would just grab that, but since this is so many eggs and we are trying to get everything done efficiently, we're just going to use the immersion blender to get it all whisked together. We need to take a moment for the brown crunchy stuff on these, because that is what putting that butter in does to the hash browns. So you're getting that frying pan effect of the crunchy stuff on the bottom of it without putting it into a frying pan. Absolutely genius, so yummy. So you might be wondering, why don't we just put the egg in, you know, right away? Why don't we just put all of it together, put it into the muffin tin right away? And the reason is, if you had the moisture from the egg, you would not get that crunchy brown bottom that I just showed you. And so this recipe creator did such a good job with thinking that through. So we're just gonna layer everything together. I think she goes into a bit more detail with the layering, but you know what? I'm here for the simple and easy, right guys? So I am just putting the sausage, a little scoop of the sausage on top of the hash brown, and then I'm going to fill it with egg, which I have a little dipper for right here. My little mini dipper. I like having little things like this, super helpful for projects when you're doing a lot of cooking at once. And then we're gonna top it off with cheese, and we're gonna pop it back into the oven. We did reduce the oven to 350. The hash browns were baked at 400. So when I do my second round of this, because I still have more hash browns, I'm gonna have to bump the oven back up to 400, but that's okay. I'm gonna be happy when all of these are in my freezer for the next couple of weeks. I moved my egg bite making station to the other side of the stove, and now we're gonna start in on a few more projects. And if you guys noticed, the first thing that we did today was put something in the oven. I always suggest doing that. Get everything working for you as you're working on other things. If you need to put something in the crock pot or the pressure cooker, it's just helpful to get those machines started for you, or appliances started for you. And that way you feel like you've got some friends working with you. Okay, so we are going to create a bulk version of a side dish that we eat very regularly, and that is mashed potatoes. And I said this the last time I bulk made mashed potatoes, but I have switched to just simply using red potatoes and not peeling them. And today we're gonna make this process even faster by using my pressure cooker. I love this pressure cooker because it makes a large amount of things. It's a bigger pressure cooker, and if I remember, I will leave it linked below for you all. So all I'm gonna do is cut these into nice bite-sized pieces, and then I'm gonna get this appliance started for me. Okay, so this is 10 pounds of potatoes, and we are just going to put water in here to cover the potatoes. I love how much this thing can make at once. Makes things so much easier, and this also helps to prevent my kitchen from getting super hot because all of the steam is, for the most part, kept inside of here. We're gonna do this on manual, on high, for about 10 minutes. These look absolutely amazing. I even love the cheese crunch on top. And I think I'm just gonna take a fork and go around each one. They seem to be lifting out pretty easily, and I'm just gonna put them on a rack to cool. I'm always amazed at what all I can get done in a really short amount of time when I plan strategically and I get different things going at once. So we are going to do a really simple freezer project here while we're waiting for the hash brown portions to bake up. To refill that, I've got my pressure cooker coming up to pressure back here. So I've made these before, but it's been a while since I've made them, and I have been missing them so much, especially in my weekly meal preps where it just takes the extra time to mince garlic. And if you've been around for a while, you know what I'm about to do. So I just have a small blender here. You could use a food processor. You could use really anything that's gonna chop this up really well. And I'm even going the extra step of I just grabbed peeled garlic from my grocery store, and I actually have more than one bag of these. I have some more in my refrigerator, but I'm gonna see if it fills up my freezer cube molds. And basically I just blend these up so they're minced, and I put them into a small cube freezer ice cube mold that I found on Amazon. I'll try to remember to leave it linked below for you all. And so all I'm gonna do, normally I would peel all of these, and that's the part I hate about garlic, is peeling the garlic. Sometimes they're just so difficult to get peeled. And so when this is all done for me, all I have to do is throw a frozen cube or 2 or 3 or however many I want into my frying pan, and it just makes using fresh garlic in recipes so easy. So all I'm gonna do for this is just dump these right in here, and I have a little bit of water here. I'm just gonna add just a splash, and then I'm going to blend this. One of the reasons I'm using this particular blender is because it's really easy to kind of shishel them around. The other reason I like using this blender is because then I'm able to kind of tap it on the countertop and get most of the garlic out of where the blades are. And it makes it easy to clean up, and you aren't wasting any garlic stuck in around under the blades. And right there is a whole lot of work that it would have taken me over the next little while to peel and mince garlic, done in a minute. The water in this also helps the pieces of garlic to kind of settle down into these cubes. So just a little bit, you know, you don't want to obviously water it down too much, but just a little bit of water really helps. Then another thing that you want to keep in mind is when you go to get these out of the freezer and pop them out, the easiest way to do that is to run a little bit of hot water over the back of the ice cube mold or ice cube tray, and they will pop out very easily. All right, so one bag filled this tray, so I'm gonna blend the other one. One other step that I take in making these is putting them into a Ziploc bag. I have not always done this, and I've actually saran wrapped them too, but just to help other things in your freezer not taste like garlic. Back over here to our potatoes. So they just went off. So I'm going to go ahead, it's gonna get really loud, but I'm gonna go ahead and manually release the pressure. I drained this out, so there's no water left in the bottom, and we're just going to go ahead and add a couple of things in. I'm kind of eyeballing this. That's how I make mashed potatoes. I don't have exact poundage and measurements and all of that. So I'm going to put 2 sticks of butter in here. We like lots of butter and lots of sour cream in our mashed potatoes, and this is making a lot of mashed potatoes. Just keep that in mind. I'm going to throw the rest of my buttery seasoning in. Normally I would probably put a little more than this in, but this is what I have left, so we're gonna work with it. I'm also gonna do a bit of salt and pepper, and again I'm going to just kind of go with what feels right with the sour cream. Love my stainless steel potato masher. It cleans so well in the dishwasher, and it does such a good job. I have in the past used an immersion blender, but because this has the red skins in it, it would be really hard to get all of that out of the blades of my immersion blender. I have a feeling that they would pack up inside there and it could just make a mess for me. So hand mashing it is, and you can see it's very simple to do. I laid these towels down, and I'm going to be using these square foil containers for the mashed potatoes. They will just freeze nicely this way. Mashed potatoes is such a great side dish, especially if you are a household that is gluten-free. Really is a nice filling side dish, and I love it because we can just put something on the grill and then heat these up. And if you're curious about how to heat these up, you can go ahead and check out my video on how to reheat freezer meals. I recently did that just to help you all out because I get so many questions on how to reheat freezer meals, and I thought, you know what, it is high time I just make a video all about this topic and give you my best tips and tricks to make meals come right back to life when you pull them out of the freezer. So as I was dishing these up, I realized I had enough for 5 pans. And so that means roughly 2 pounds of potatoes is about enough to make 1 serving for our family at the moment, or 1 meal serving, I should say. So I need to keep that in mind for the future. That way I know about how much I'm gonna get out of each bag of potatoes I get. Okay friends, I have a new kitchen tool that I have been having fun playing around with. Haven't nailed down all recipes for it, but working with it, and that is, this is not a waffle iron. This is actually a mini donut maker. So we're gonna whip up some mini donuts and ice them. I have no idea if these are gonna make it into the freezer. I hope that some of them do, but they probably will get eaten by my family. I don't know if I could make enough to go beyond getting tired of donuts that we need to put the rest in the freezer. I have no idea. But I have a gluten-free flour mix in here. I will leave the recipe for these linked below, both a regular recipe to make the mini donuts along with the donut maker machine, and also a gluten-free version as well, in case you want to try it out depending on your needs. All right, we're mixing the dry ingredients first, and then we'll do the wet ingredients in a separate bowl. So I have my gluten-free flour mixture in here, and this does not have xanthan gum in it. So we're gonna go ahead and add a 1/4 teaspoon of xanthan gum to this. And again, you could multiply this recipe however many times you need to for your family, or if you want to try to freeze them. I just find with recipes like this, it's a little simpler to put all the dry ingredients in one bowl, wet in the other. So I added some baking powder, and now I'm just adding in some salt. And I am using my monk fruit sweetener for this, but you could always use whatever you prefer to sweeten things. Now we're gonna swap the bowls around here to mix our wet ingredients. I'm gonna start out with my eggs. We're gonna give those a good whisk. Gonna add water, vanilla, and some avocado oil. I just prefer to use this. We don't use vegetable oil or canola oil in our cooking because we have a daughter that's very sensitive to those things, and so I just like using avocado oil because it's very mild in flavor when it comes to something sweet. Now we're simply going to add our wet ingredients to the dry. Okay, so one of the tricks that I have found with using this little machine, and it's super handy, is to put oil into each of the donut areas. It sort of gives the donuts more of a fried taste, which if you didn't know, donuts are fried. And so it sort of mimics that, even though these are what I would consider to be like a cake donut. But if you've got a little bit of extra oil in there, it's gonna give off that fried flavor and without actually fully frying them. Another way to put the batter into this is to put it into a Ziploc bag and clip the corner and kind of pipe it in, but I'm just gonna scoop it in today. While we're waiting on our donut maker to make up the donuts, I'm gonna get things packaged over here for the freezer. And then we're gonna get started in on another recipe, but I wanna get these put in since they're cooled and don't want them to sit out for too long. Okay, we are gonna make the glaze or frosting, whatever you, icing, whatever you wanna call it, for the top of those little donuts in just a second. But I'm going to go ahead and get these 2 pounds of burger, ground beef, started here on the stovetop because we are going to make a couple pans of beef enchiladas. They are an easy freezer meal, and they're really easy to make gluten-free. You just get gluten-free tortillas. We are gonna make a very simple glaze to go over these. I'm just gonna use some regular powdered sugar. You could use a alternate powder alternate sweetener powder if you want to. But I'm just gonna go ahead and use what I have on hand here. So I'm just going to shake a bit of this in here and add a little splash of vanilla, just a really small amount here. And then I have a little pitcher of water, and I'm just going to add very small amounts until I like the consistency. I want this to be on the thicker side just so that it doesn't run off of the donuts. So just going to need to work with it as I go. And having extra powdered sugar on hand when you do this is not a bad idea, because if you get too much liquid going on, you can always add in some more powdered sugar. I'm just gonna use some fun little sprinkles we had in my pantry. I am on the lookout for some more dye-free sprinkles, so let me know in the comments if you know of a brand. And also I wanted to note that the darkness on these is because of the extra oil I used. If you just don't want them to look quite as dark like this, you don't need to do the extra oil idea, but they're not gonna have that fried taste either. So just keep that in mind. There is a variety of seasonings that you can add to this once it's browned, and the seasonings are listed in the recipe linked below. But to make things simple, I'm just gonna take my homemade taco seasoning mix, put that on this because it's very close to the seasonings that are recommended. And again, it's about 3 tablespoons per pound of meat for this seasoning. Since we're making 2 pans, I drained off 2 cans of black beans, so we're gonna add those in right away. We are also going to add about 6 ounces of frozen corn per recipe. Also throwing in a pint jar of my home canned diced tomatoes. And I did drain these. Assembly for these is really simple. I have 2 foil pans just to make things easier, and I don't always like to put my glass pans in the freezer in case I'm using them for something else. I'm gonna spray them with avocado oil just to make sure things don't stick too badly. Next, I'm going to take just a bit of the enchilada sauce, put it in the bottom, and you just need 1 can per pan. Now, this recipe does call for 8 tortillas, I believe. In the gluten-free packs, they only come with 6. So we're just going to divide everything between 6 of them to wrap them up. And I just kind of took my spatula here and sort of made a line down the middle of my mixture for the inside, so I know about what I need to put into each one. So these are gonna be a little more filling heavy than tortilla heavy. I like to turn them so that they stay in place. To finish them off, you're just going to drizzle the enchilada sauce across the top. And then we are gonna put a lot of cheese on top. I could have put some cheese on the inside as well, but I just didn't think of it. And so I'm just gonna make up for it by putting it on the top. All right, friends, I need to get these marked and down to my deep freezer. This was such a successful freezer prep. I hope that it inspired you a lot. Subscribe here if you're new. It's free, and I hope that it gives you a lot of great inspiration for easy meals, budget-friendly meals, and meals that lean on the healthy side as well. Leave me a comment below. Let me know what inspired you out of this video, or maybe a meal idea that you recently came across that has been just a winner for your family. It always inspires me to see what you guys are making. Definitely chat with me in the comments. Give this video a like, and I'll see you all in my next video.